Hey guys, another week of April is done with, so what did I read? Hey guys, if you are new here, welcome to the Book Path. I'm Nicole, and if this isn't your first rodeo, thank you guys for sticking around with me. As I said before, another week has come and gone for April, and we are doing the Magical Readathon as well as Realmathon. If you haven't already, you can check out my T.B.R. I have linked that down below. You can kind of see what my goals were for this month. And I'm gonna let you guys know right now, there are a few more changes I did to tweaking my T.B.R. I know I tweaked it a little bit in week 1. I can link that down below if you want to see how I ended up changing that around. More changes came about, and I will let you guys know what kind of happened. But first and foremost, let's talk about what I did do this week. So first up this week, I ended up reading Radiant Beauty by Katie Roberts. This is the fourth book in the Dark Olympus series, which I am really loving. This book, however, was probably my least favorite in the series so far. I'm not gonna lie. Cassandra just wants to get her and her sister out of Olympus due to just the negative feelings of animosity and everything that is kind of thrown at them after their parents participated or led a failed coup against one of the previous, I think it's the 13 Olympian kind of deity titles. And so they've kind of been taking the brunt of that. Apollo has kind of taken a little bit of pity on Cassandra and allowed her to start working for him, and that's kind of turned quickly into a little bit of a crush, and both of them are kind of crushing on each other, but they don't want to admit it because Apollo knows Cassandra wants to leave. Cassandra doesn't want to get attached because she wants to leave, and she thinks, there's no way that Apollo could like me. So you have that. They are invited by Minos, who is a new addition to the city of Olympus after what has happened in the third book, Wicked Beauty. I'm not going to try to spoil too much on that, but they are invited to a party that I think is supposed to span like a week, and they go to the house, and there's supposed to be a bunch of puzzles and dinner games and all this kind of stuff going on, but Apollo knows that there's more of an agenda. He's kind of the information seeker, and he asks Cassandra to go with him as his fake girlfriend to figure things out, get this information, find out what Minos is really doing. And so obviously you have the fake dating trope going on. This one, I ended up giving 4 stars. I think it was still a good read. The spice level, probably is about a 4 in this one, which is still spicy. I don't think it went too crazy or too taboo like the other books had done. This one, I felt very kind of underwhelmed with the plot because it felt like your typical fake dating trope with, oh, I really have feelings, set into like the plot of like a murder mystery whodunit type of atmosphere, which sounded cool. It just, the way that the series has been going on, it felt very kind of underwhelming plot wise when in comparison to the other books. It was still a good read, but it just wasn't there for me as much. Like the relationship dynamics in here were okay, whereas in like Wicked Beauty, they were outstanding. So I'm sorry, my nose is itching. Everybody's been mowing their lawn around here now that the weather's turned a little bit nicer, and it went from tree allergies now to like mowing their lawn, grass and pollen in the air and everything. So if I keep going like this throughout the film, throughout the show, whatever, you're gonna know why. But basically, yeah, so I ended up finishing this one, gave it 4 stars for like pretty much across the board, 4 stars for enjoyment, 4 stars for spice level. And this basically, I ended up switching out with one of my other previous books. I think it was Fallen Kingdoms, as far as having the book that had a map in here, because it has the 13, but it also has the map of Olympus in here. So I switched this out, and that fulfilled my, I believe it was my lore. to read a book with a map. So that filled that. I also used this book. I think this was the first time I actually attacked in Realmathon. I can't remember too much what the points were for this. I know, let's see, off the top of my head, about 350 pages. So I probably would have got about 10 points for the page count on here. It is a hybrid genre because it is, well, I count it as a fantasy romance because it's inspired by the mythology, and it kind of follows the myth. It's a retelling. So I count it as a hybrid genre. I don't know if the other ones will, but so that's 10 points. It is romance, so that's my realm for Realmathon. And so that was 10 points, but it isn't a self-published book, so I didn't get the points there for that. So look at the map, a retelling. So I ended up, like I said, using this to attack, and I got this for read a book with the dark cover because it's pretty dark. I mean, you've got this darker red, but it's like more of like a temptation, dark, sinful type color. So I went with that. Learn to Bind, a 2023 release. This did come out in 2023. And then a Dysfunctional Family, which was worth like another 5 points. And this one is, you know, all about the gods and their dysfunctional families, and then Cassandra and her sister trying to be like a maid family because their parents are now deceased because of the coup. So they're kind of suffering because of what their parents did. So I consider that pretty dysfunctional. Plus you have Apollo, who is at odds with his brother Orpheus because of what Orpheus has done to one of Demeter's daughters, and there's a lot of dysfunction going on in that side of the family. So I felt it had dysfunction, you know, in the family. So with that looks like 5, 6, 7, 8, and then the 10, 20. So about like 38 points with the extra page count. So 38 points to attack. I will not say who I attacked because I just don't want to be mean like that. And I kind of, reality, just picked at random. I think for one of the other books that I used to attack, so I only attacked one other time. I asked my husband just pick one at random, and he just picked. So I'm like, I'm not trying to like throw any hate on anybody because it's all in fun and games, but I had to do it because that's where all the points were for this book. So but anyway, so that one was the first book that I read. So then I moved on to A Vision in Crimson by Catherine Troy, and this one was gifted to me by the author after I read The Shadow of Theron, which I really loved, and you can check that out down below. I'll link that to the Coming Soon series that I do. This one I ended up giving 3 stars. I looked ahead and it looked like the author had actually written this quite a few years ago. I think it was 2017, and it may or may not have been their first book. I'm not sure. But if it was, it kind of felt that way just because it had a great plot line to it. It was very interesting. Didn't think about things that way, but there were parts that felt really sped up and other parts that I felt kind of dropped a key piece. So in this story, you have this world that it seems like a dystopian future of Earth, and you have Luca, and Luca is one of the children or the son of Dracula, and he is a damper, which is half vampire, half human, and he's going around the world, and everybody kind of throws shade at dampers. They're treated as less than anything. And when he's resting at one point, this beautiful fiery redhead girl named Kate comes upon him, totally doesn't care he's a dampier, and she asks him to join her kind of crew. And what he finds out is that Kate has this magical ability to kind of go through portals to different planets and different worlds and different times. And so she has managed to finagle this kind of motley crew of, like, Hercules is one of the guys on there. There's a bunch of different like nymphs and naiads. There's a centaur, I believe. There's all these different characters that are like very mythological or famous that kind of make up this group. And so her and Luca kind of hit it off right away. There's a passion, and literally within 24 hours, they're pronouncing their undying love for each other. And that felt a little like, really, like I said, their relationship felt really rushed, and I really wished that, like, this book could have been a lot longer, and I would have continued to read it because the relationship between them would have pulled me in more because it had the beginnings of it. All along, against this backdrop of Dracula is actually searching for his son. To what ends, we don't know, but he is making his he is making his presence known. They end up going back to the world that Kate has kind of established as her own, where she is the queen. And just to cut a lot of like the things that are kind of going on there with the family dynamics, there is a assassin that she's supposed to go after, and she ends up having a romantic rendezvous with. And he kind of wants her, but Luca doesn't want to give her up. And then there's also a blast from the past best friend that, you know, just kind of didn't play his cards right and also didn't get Kate. So it almost has this like weird reverse harem because there's plenty of suitors, but like not suitors in a weird way. And Kate is hopelessly in love with Luca, and Luca is hopelessly in love with her. So there's that. It really felt, all in all, kind of like a mashup between the Chronicles of Narnia, where you have like this world, and Kate and her brothers get like crowned kings and queens as like kids, and there's like the magical mythical like creatures and everything, and just kind of governing that aspect. And then, like I said, the portals into different worlds and times and everything. And then you throw in a little bit of Dracula into that with like a few other little mythological tidbits. But that's kind of what the mashup was. It felt like it is the first book in a series. I don't know if I'm going to continue with it. Just because I just, like, it could be a really quick read. So I probably will, to be honest. I probably will just continue it to kind of see where it goes. There is a spice element to it. It's on a 3 to 4 spice element because stuff is done, but it's really not, well, actually I should reverse that. It's actually a 4, possibly a light 5, because there is like one scene that could be considered more taboo. But it's not very like detailed. They're not overly detailed scenes. But there is a lot of scenes there. There were quite a few scenes. So that's probably why it sticks more in a 4, possibly a 5. Overall, I gave the book, like I said, 3 stars. Like I said, it had a really good plot, interesting things to happen. I just felt like it wasn't executed in the best of ways. And so 3 stars. That ended up being my fulfillment for animal studies, which was to flip a coin. And if it was, I think it was heads, it was nonfiction, tails, it was fiction. And I ended up getting fiction. So A Vision in Crimson suited that one, and that one brought me one step closer to finishing my Beastmaster character, Farron. This also was one that I believe I attacked with, and I'm trying to see where I think I attacked with. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. Yes. So I attacked with the Expedite Process, so a book that plays with time, which, like I said, she can go through the different portals. She's gone through to like Hercules' time. She says she's from 1888, and then she's going to like the future where Luca is, which is like a dystopian, like way in Earth's future. And then Deflected Enemy's Rift, a book you didn't buy. Since I was given this by the author, I didn't buy it. So that was 8 points there. I don't believe I got the page count because I think this was just under 200 pages, if memory serves. I'm not sure. If I did, I would have got 10 points for it. So I know I got to start writing these down. Other than that, it was a hybrid genre because this was like sci-fi, fantasy, romance. So it kind of fit all 3. So I'm going to count it for that because it had romance in it. It is my realm. So there's another additional 10 points there. And this was, I believe, a self-published or indie book. So that's another 10 points there. So we had 38 there. So at least 38 points, possibly 48 to attack. Once again, I think this is the one I let my husband pick, and he picked whomever he did, and we just did the attacking for that one. So now is leads us into Peace Talks. Peace Talks was going on this past weekend from the 14th through the 16th. What that basically meant is any book that you started between those days and finished in those days would get you an additional 10 points. I didn't go crazy. My original thought was just to kind of knock out some novellas that I had got through FaroFab. And when I started looking through them, a lot of them were actually the ones that I was wanting to read more, ended up being like 400, 500 pages. And I was like, that's not happening. And then when I looked at some of the more quicker novellas, I just wasn't feeling it. And I'm like, if I don't feel it at this point in time, then it's going to take longer. But I did end up reading one, and that was The Dragon King's Bride by Danielle Lockhart. This one was a really short read. It was only about like 100 pages, maybe a little bit more. I think it was like 160, somewhere around there. Either way, less than 200 pages. This one I ended up giving 3 stars to. This is one of those books, once again, just like Vision and Crimson, had a really good plot line to it, but just kind of failed on the execution a little bit. In this one, you have a world where you have people who have magical abilities who also are able to shapeshift into dragons, and they are kind of at this ongoing war with the Fae Kingdom. And the fairies have elemental magic over like the world around them. They can converse with animals. Their powers over nature are much stronger than the dragon shifters, but the dragons do have strong powers of their own. So in this world, when a new dragon king comes to the throne, he gets all the women of a certain age who are either virgins and unmarried. So yeah, and they all have to come and compete, and whoever is the strongest gets to be queen. So it is a heavy competition. There are people like other princesses, well, not other princesses, other girls that are in this competition that will try to hurt, maim, destroy the other contestants. So you have Ava, who is considered a serf, because yes, you do have a hierarchy in this kingdom as well. She is the poorest of the poorest, lives out in the country, and she is competing for the king. She really doesn't want to be queen. She just wants to live on the land, be a farmer, do whatever. Reason being, her mother, who died at birth, was a fairy. So she is a hybrid of a fairy and this kind of dragon magic realm. She has wings that don't full form all the way, so she kind of hides her magic, downplays it to protect herself. And so she just wants to get kicked out of this competition as soon as she can. But when she meets the king, whose name is Kaiser, he's intrigued by her. He senses something different about her. He's like, why is she automatically just like, it feels like she really doesn't want to be here. And why would a girl not want to be here? So he keeps kind of passing her through to where he senses something different. And right away, early in the competition, he knows about her wings. He knows that she has this sort of glowing capacity. You find out later on, the more aroused she is, the more she glows, which was interesting choice. But it is what it is. So the competition is going on. The relationship between the two is escalating very, very quickly. And of course, she has to keep her secret because Kaiser's father, the previous king, was killed by fairies. So he has a little bit of animosity there. So you have all these parts and aspects of making this a really, really interesting novel. But because it's more of a novella form, everything is rushed. And it just kind of gave it a little bit of lackluster because you didn't get the emotions in the relationship. You didn't really get this drawn out whatever. You only got a glimpse of the fear for Ava to protect who she is. When the climax happened, it was smoothed over really quickly. A resolution was like, oh, why don't we just do this? And you don't really find out what that resolution is until the end. And when you find out what they did, you're kind of like, that's it? Like, so it just felt really like that. And then it just kind of left off and you're like, well, how's the kingdom going to handle that when they've been at war with... It was just really kind of like, well, that was a quick finish. And so it just had the potential to be something really good. Had it been a lot longer, I really would have enjoyed it. I would have enjoyed a lot more and the competition aspects of it, and seeing maybe a little bit more from the other contestants to kind of just add that tension to it. But like I said, I gave it 3 because it did have a good, strong kind of plot line to carry it through, even though it got carried through very quickly. For this, this didn't fulfill any prompts for Magical Readathon. This was strictly just to get points for Realmathon. And so for Realmathon, I used it to defend, and it was less than 200, so I didn't get any page bonuses. It was a hybrid genre because it was a fairy romance. It was a fae dragon, so fantasy romance. So has the hybrid genre there, had the romance, so it was another 10 points there, and it was an indie published book or self-published book. So that was 30 points. Then because I did read this during Peace Talks and finish it, there's an extra points there, so 40 points. And then for this one, it was an ebook, so another point. It was a new to me author, which was another 5 points, and it was send a message to an ally, which is to spell your name on the book, which is another 6 points. So that was like 11, 12 more points plus the 40. So it was like 50, 52 points for defending The Realm of Cyrus. So woohoo! I know I have all my notes here. So I did that one, and then what I ended up doing, this is where things got a little switched around. Basically, for both of my characters, I needed to read a book for alchemy. And alchemy, the prompt was to read a book with metal in the title. So originally, I was going to read The City of Brass and the Kingdom of Copper. Both of those are like between 500 and 600 pages, 650 pages. So they were chunky books. And what started happening is I had City of Brass on my Kindle, but I couldn't get the Kingdom of Copper. It wasn't available on Kindle Unlimited, wasn't available for the first read, so I couldn't get it for free that way. And then it wasn't available through my library app, so I couldn't get it that way. It was a big hold for it. I think it was like 10 weeks out to get the book. And I was like, okay. I didn't really want to buy it because I had just did a book haul and spent some money there. And I had also purchased another book. So I really didn't want to just pay again, knowing that I would have to buy some more books for my 40 before 40 and then buy a book that I didn't know if I was going to like it or not, just to be able to have it. So once I finished City of Brass, I could go to Kingdom of Copper. So I was like, well, let me see if I can find another one, and then I'll just read City of Brass and whatever book I find. So I ended up finding one book, and that was Silver-Tongued Devils by Dawn Montgomery. And this was another novella. I was actually really excited because I'm like, great, I can get it. I can read it during Peace Talks, get myself some extra points. Wasn't what I was expecting at all. I thought it was a fantasy romance. It was a sci-fi romance, and I am not a huge sci-fi person. I don't do robots, spaceships, like outer space travel. I am not huge into Star Trek, Star Wars, anything like that. So it was really out of my comfort zone, but I was pleasantly surprised. So Silver-Tongued Devils kind of is 3 short stories about this crew that happens. And in the first one, you have Raisa, who is this girl who, once again, now that I think about it, had red hair. Like the past 3 books I've read have had like redheaded, fiery, like personality, strong-willed women. I'm here for it. I loved it. But that's just funny. So Raisa is trying to escape. People have killed her father, and they have captured her with hopes of selling her as a pleasure slave, for lack of a better term. And so she's run away from them, and she's hiding out on a ship. She is like a hacker guru. She can get into all the systems. She knows all these languages. She's phenomenal. And what happens is she goes onto this pirate vessel, and the second in command is part tiger, part man. He's like the hybrid. and he finds her and catches her, and of course, like, she's kind of turned on by him, he's kind of turned on by her. But not only that, she meets the captain. So the tiger guy is called Braun. They meet the captain, who is Navarre, and he also gets a little liking for her. And what they find out is that because she was captured with the hopes of being a pleasure slave, they have put something in her system that heightens her, we'll just go with happiness. We're just going to use that. And because she has this heightened happiness, both Braun and Navarre need to help her with these urges. And so the book kind of goes on with that, and they start kind of formulating or forming this really sweet kind of relationship between the three of them. And you find out as the stories go on parts of their past, and this is kind of a spoiler, but not, because it sets in motion the other short stories, as well as, I guess there's another like bigger book that this actually goes to. And you find out that Navarre is the long lost prince of this society, or this group. I think they're called the Andulian or Andarian people, and he is being sought after by his cousin, who is now ascended to the throne in his place. Basically, he wants Navarre dead. So Navarre has kind of been this outcast pirate. He's trying to do raids to stop the empire, if you will, from having true power, and you have people that want to help him get back to the throne. You find out Reza is kind of his long lost bride. They were promised to each other when they were younger. So by the cosmos, they end up in this weird predicament that I have just laid out to you. And then Braun is kind of, he used to be a pleasure slave, because apparently hybrid creatures are used for that. They're thought of nothing but workhorses and everything. It's got this whole system to it. But it also had like cyborgs in it, and spaceships, and, you know, like I said, space pirates and whatnot. So normally I'd be like, not for me, but the way that it was written, it pulled me along, and I really liked these characters to where I actually want to go and find more of this, the actual book series or whatever it is that these characters are part of, and read it, because good for you. You actually put me in this kind of sci-fi world, and based on these little adventures, I am drawn in. I'm drawn in. So I ended up giving Silver-Tongued Devils 4 stars. The spice is about a 4. It hasn't really gone into realms of taboo or anything, but it is spicy. So this one, once again, did not have any prompts, I don't think, for this, just like the Dragon's Bride. Oh no, this one did. I'm sorry. Lost my train of thought. So because it had silver in the title, this could fulfill one of the alchemy prompts. So with that being said, I have completed my Beastmaster prompt. Yay! So Farron, Earthstone, you have gone up a level from novice to the next level of Beastmaster. You are complete. I still have to work on another book for Azraelin, and we'll get into that in a second. But basically for Silver-Tongued Devils, that fulfilled that prompt, finished that character off, and then I ended up defending the realm with this book as well, and I ended up getting 50 points because it didn't reach the page count, but it was a hybrid because it was a sci-fi romance. Had romance, so I got the 10-point plus for that. Was indie or self-published, so I got points for that, plus the extra points for the Peace Talks. And then for this one, it was an ebook and a new to me author. And that was about it, because I couldn't spell my name on the cover. So with that, it was really like 6 points, but with all the extra bonuses, it came out to be like 46 points to defend once again. So that leaves me to basically where I am at now. Because I got Silver-Tongued Devils, I didn't have to look for Kingdom of Copper anymore. So I was kind of left just with City of Brass. And I didn't know if I really wanted to read it, because I didn't want to start another series. I didn't want to do like that and then have to go and find the book later on. So I just thought that was what I was going to have to do. But then it's story time. So I went to Walmart to buy some stuff, and I happened to see a book that I had had my eye on. I didn't realize it was already out. It was on sale. I went and got it. And that was Silver in the Bone by Alexandra Bracken. I was a huge fan of lore and a few other books that I've wanted to read, but I haven't had a chance to yet. So I wanted to pick this one up, showed it to my husband when I got home. He goes, oh, now you found a book that would fulfill that prompt that you were talking about, the one with the metal in the title. Glazed look came over my face as I looked about the room. Light bulb went on. Oh my God, you're right. I don't have to, I'm like, I want to read City of Brass still, but I don't have to start a new series because I think this is actually I shouldn't say that because I found out that this is also a series, but this is actually less pages than City of Brass. So that really was the key thing, was the less amount of pages. Because as you know, once I can finish this, I can start going to attack more books on my 40 before 40 list, which is the big goal. So this is the one that I switched out with City of Brass. Silver Tongue Devils was switched out with City of Copper. So I'm still keeping with the metal in the title for the alchemy. So I will be working on this to fulfill my alchemy prompt, my final prompt for Magical Readathon. And then once this is done, I'm just going to start going for whatever I can on my 40 before 40 list and go from there. But that is where it stands now. I am actually really happy and excited because I am on the last book for Magical Readathon. Anything after this is just extra points and gravy, and maybe I might take one of the side quest adventures. Who knows? It's all up in the air. So with that being said, how are you guys doing? Are you guys participating in these readathons? Are you defending your realm, attacking other realms for Realmathon? Are you getting through your course list for Magical Readathon? Have you already completed it and you're just like sitting nice and relaxed and waiting for next month? Let me know, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Bye.